Good day, planet Earth. Michael Litten, the last DJ, host of Ride the Vibe, broadcasting from the super cool, wicked awesome DRS ATL studio right here in Roswell, Georgia. My friend, proprietor of the studio, Wahid Gomes, at the controls, making it all happen because I wouldn't have a clue about all this technology stuff. I can barely do what I do. But at any rate, for those of you that are local and are looking for a very comfortable and cool environment with a great cat running the studio to record and do your thing, DRS ATL right in Roswell. And then for musicians all over the planet that are looking for a way to make some money while you sleep, who wouldn't want to do that? Check out Verde Music. That's a boutique publishing business that Wahid runs to get those sync licensing placements. I am super stoked to have on the show Suzi Kory, all the way from Toronto, Canada. Suzi is a very positive person and always trying to motivate people. So that's what the songs that she sings about become about: love, living life of loving people and loving yourself, and finding happiness by being genuine and true to who you are. The important thing to Suzi is to use her music in such a way that it positively affects people. And considering Kory possesses the lyrical vulnerability and glistening vocals of Emmylou Harris, man, how cool is that? While maintaining the powerful delivery of Ronstadt, that would be Linda, it comes as no surprise that alongside Dolly Parton, she cites these country queens as her biggest musical influences. Love that. And you can find out all about her at www.SUVIKORY.com, SuziKory.com. Suzi, welcome to the Vibe.
Hello, Michael. How are you?
Well, speaking with you, dear, I got to be doing badly.
Well, what an intro. I don't know what to say anymore. I don't think we even need to do the interview. You just
that's it. Well, no interview, just a conversation. And for your fans that are Legion and continuing to grow, and if they haven't heard your music, and hopefully they'll check it out on this podcast and become even more raving fans. But the way we roll the shows, we like to suggest that listeners sit back in a comfortable environment. Down here in the South, we're out on the floats on the water because the weather's so hot. Get a beverage of your choice. In the studio, we're featuring one of our favorite sponsors. That's DrinkMate. They're out of Michigan, and they carbonate anything. So they carbonate juices, teas, ciders, a good way to get yourself off those toxic sugar-sweetened beverages. They'll do wines and spirits. Just a portable, little sits on your counter, got a CO2 thing, and you just carbonate whatever you want. So a big shout out to DrinkMate. And we're going to play 6 or maybe even 7 of your songs, Suzi, but not all the way through because we want listeners to go to SuziKory.com and actually buy the music where you can make some money and then just chat about it. So how about that?
I'm all in.
I love it. And we're going to cue up, this is an unreleased song and titled 1975. So let's cue that up if we could, Wahid, and then we'll come back and chat about that.
Letting loose, letting go, going where nobody knows, out into the country.
1975, man. Well, there are a lot of reasons it might be good to go back to 1975 in this crazy world. Suzi, talk about that song that's unreleased yet, and talk about, in this crazy shifting musical landscape, your decision to, currently at least, to have done singles, which is what we're going to play. But talk about that song specifically.
Well, for me, 1975 signifies a lot. Dare I say it was the year I was born?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what kind of inspired it.
Yeah.
But more so, I'm in love with the 70s as a decade musically.
Yeah.
And a lot of the bands that I love are from the 70s. I love that kind of Southern rock, hard rock, kind of, I don't want to say started in the 70s, but, it probably was influenced by the 60s coming into the 70s.
Yes.
But I love that whole decade. And even though I didn't live through it musically, I was inspired by it later on in life.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where that song, for me, the song just came out of nowhere as a feel good. Let's just party, listen to these awesome songs and having a good time. So it's a real kind of summer anthem.
And for those of us that are a little, well, I don't want to say older. I try to say wiser, but I'm not sure I am. So then it covers all genre or all, age ranges, I guess, which is pretty cool. And your mom was a big influence. Talk about her country music influence on you.
Yeah, so my mom, was a Canadian immigrant. She came from Lebanon, which was where I was born as well. But I came when I was 8 months old to Canada, whereas my mom came as a late teen. And, she fell in love with country music. And so it was always playing in our house, even though I didn't realize that at the time it was influencing me. Because when I got into my teenage years, I was listening to hard rock, Guns N' Roses, Metallica, Red Hot Chili Peppers, all of that. But it was only later when I started writing music that the songs that came out of me came from that influence of listening to country from my mom having played so many of these artists when I was younger.
I love it. Now, and was she, in the write-up or the little bio piece that I shared at the very beginning, three, the trio, their album, the double album, that Emmylou, Linda Ronstadt, and Dolly, were those artists that your mom was listening to at the time, or did that come later?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of where I first heard them. And you don't understand the intricacies of it and the harmonies and the beauty of that and the lyrics. It's only as an adult that I started to really appreciate it. But as a child listening to it, I know it was beautiful and I loved singing along. But again, not necessarily knowing the technical part of it. But really with music, you don't need to understand that because I truly believe even to this day, I'm not musically trained. I never really formally went and trained musically. But what touches you and what doesn't. And I think music like that, those three artists were just phenomenal independently, but together it was just magic.
So for those of you that are not familiar with them, each of their individual stories is fascinating. And then their collaboration that they did on two different albums called Trios, I believe. Is that right? Do I have that right?
I believe so, yeah.
But well worth checking out. And then I've also been enamored with Dolly Parton's new album that she did a lot of duets with, which is pretty cool. You touched on the influence of Guns N' Roses, but you actually met your idol and inspiration. Talk about that.
It's a funny story because it's like he, changed my life 2 times.
Wow.
And they were very pivotal things. The first was when I was 14 and saw him for the first time live with Guns N' Roses. And that concert was my first concert. And that's when I realized, okay, this is what I want to do. And my parents were like, no, it's not what you're going to do.
So right, of course.
I ended up taking another path in life and a great one. It's been an amazing adventure. I ended up getting married, having kids, moving to the Middle East, working in the airlines, traveling the world.
Wow.
So had this whole other life and kind of put music to the side. Then in 2015, I moved back to Toronto and I decided for my 40th birthday, all I wanted was to meet Axl. And, I'd never lost my love of him and my being inspired musically by him, even though I didn't pursue music up until that time. I flew out to LA and I drove to his house.
No way.
Yeah. And as fate would have it, there he was outside of his house when I got there. And we got to chat.
Gosh.
And I got to take a picture with him. And this picture went viral all over the internet because in 2015, he had not been seen for about a year and a half.
Oh my
So
God.
everybody was like, oh my God, the first photo of Axl Rose in like a year and a half.
Yeah.
So then I went back to Toronto and I went, you know what? This was crazy. This whole idea of wanting to go meet him.
Yeah.
And I made it happen. So if I can make that happen, let's see what else I can make happen. And I decided to pursue my musical dream.
Wow.
And ever since then, it's just been one amazing thing after another. So thank you, Axl Rose.
Look at that. So that sounds like you kind of answered a question that would be, what's the one thing you'd like listeners to take away? And it would be follow your dream. I would, if I put words in your mouth.
Yeah, and it sounds so cliche. I know saying that people are like, yeah, whatever, but we were kind of talking off the air. What I say is actually what I live. And I think that's very important because it's one thing to say things that sound nice and inspire people on a superficial level. It's another thing when you just show them what that looks like.
Right.
I get a lot of messages, people, oh my God, you look so happy, genuinely happy in life. I'm like, yeah, because I took the risk of later in life, my 40s, to follow this dream that I've been hanging on to for 25 years.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm not going to leave this world with regret of never having tried. But then the minute you start doing it, it's like this incredible whole other world opens up that you would have not otherwise known if you didn't take that chance and not worry about what people are going to say, about you trying to be a singer in your 40s.
Yeah.
So it's pretty incredible. And I hope that people listening out there go, okay, well, you don't necessarily have to want to be a rock star. It could be any dream that you had.
Sure.
Just go do something about it.
Right. Put intention into it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it sounds like in your world, no coincidences.
No, and that's what you start to realize is like if you have a gut feeling about something, like that feeling that I had that I just want to go meet him, there's always something behind it. So just trust it and follow it. And as crazy as it may appear to you, you're like, what? What do you mean go meet Axl Rose?
Yeah.
Just go do it. And if nothing else, there might be so I might have gone and not met him, but something else might have happened as well.
Right.
That was supposed to meant to happen on my journey there. So I always believe in that, just go with your gut instinct because there's always something in it that you're supposed to learn from, or it introduces you to someone you're supposed to meet. It's stuff you can't even plan, just go with your gut.
Everybody comes on the stage of your life and says exactly the right thing, the right line at the right time. If you go with that kind of thing. Well, so you track down, so the cat hasn't been seen in years and then you track down where his house is. That seems kind of,
sadly it was, not happily for me, but sadly for him, it's right on Google.
Oh, it is. And then when you show up at his house, is he a little nervous that you're some kind of stalker? This day and age, after all these different crazy things have happened, but it was all good.
Well, in hindsight, you look back and you go, how did he not go, oh my God, who the hell is?
Right.
I like to think I'm not frightening.
Yeah, right.
Up on that.
Right.
So he was actually smiling and he thought it was hilarious that I'd flown in all the way from Toronto and it was my birthday. I explained that.
Oh, no way. Your birthday too. Okay.
Yeah. It was my birthday when I met him. So talk about best birthday gift ever.
I got to see that picture. You're going to have to send that picture to me because I clearly...
I will. If you Google Suzi Kory, Axl Rose, it actually comes up.
Oh, it does? Okay. Well, I'll do it that way then. Golly. Well, and then before we cue up the next song... let's cue up Love Revolution. And guys, I love this song and it speaks to what we need a little more of in this world right now. And then we'll come back and talk about the infamous John Burkett.
Sure.
is Suzi Kory, Love Revolution. Love that song. And talk about that song, Suzi, because that's powerful.
Well, for me, that song is probably one of the biggest influences on my life. It taught me a lot. That song came to me about a year before we went through COVID. And I remember writing it and recording it, and I didn't release it till a year later. And it came to me to release it during COVID because more than ever, I mean, look, at the end of the day, the idea of loving people and loving each other, and it never grows old. And I think we need to be reminded of that because we can easily forget that really that's the most powerful thing in the world. And at that time, I felt like, okay, this song needs to come out because, there was so much division on things. No matter where you stood on whatever your opinions were, I hated to see that people were being divided. Right. And I think, at the end of the day, we're all on this earth for a reason at this time together, and we need to help each other and make life easier, not more difficult. And so I put out this song, and, I told you about the whole idea of Axl Rose and this voice in my head said, go meet him. Well, I had just lost my job because of COVID. I was working in the airlines and I was let go. And I remember being happy. Going, you know what? I've been working in the airlines for 20 years. I'm good. I've traveled all over the world. I've done everything I could do. I'm good to leave and have this time to myself for a little bit and figure out my life. And this voice said to me, start a festival. And I'm like, what? I just lost my job. What do you mean start a festival? So, but I listened to that voice. I told you, listen to your gut. And I called it the Love Revolution Country Music Festival. And at the time, you probably remember, you're not supposed to be in large gatherings and so on. And so I decided to do this drive-in festival. And so people could come with their cars and they had their space and so on. Anyhow, I'm not going to go into the details, but basically that song inspired a whole festival. And I did it for 3 years in a row.
Wow.
It is without a doubt the most beautiful thing I've ever experienced in my life because it made me realize the importance of working not just for yourself and to promote yourself, but to help other people, other artists, and make something that is much bigger than you are. And what it does in terms of the influence it has on the world. And also it makes your purpose for what you're doing in the music industry so much bigger and so much more important than just pushing your own agenda. And that's what I learned from that. And it was something very, very beautiful. And I hope to continue it later.
Golly, that's awesome. And I saw some of the video clips and it looked like everybody was having a gas, at least the clips I saw. So.
I wish that people could feel what we felt being there. It was so much love. And I know it's so cliche because of obviously the festival is called Love Revolution. But it was so like that. And, I think people don't understand the power they have in creating whatever kind of environment you want to have. You are responsible for creating that. And I wanted to create a festival where, in the music industry, there's a lot of egos involved sometimes. And, people being headliners and being more important than someone else. And for me, one thing I said to all the artists and everybody was on board is there is no headliner. Yes, it's a festival. Even I'm not the headliner of this. You're picking names out of a bag, a box, whatever it is, of who's going when. So it doesn't matter what time your slot is. Everybody gets 30 minutes on stage. And what you do with that 30 minutes is what's important, not when or, know. And it was so great because it's like it removes all these unnecessary evils, that go along with being in the music industry. And instead, we were all like singing in the green room together and just remembering why we do music. And, it's incredible. It really is.
I love it. Well, and speaking of Love Revolution, we got introduced by a mutual friend of ours, John Burkett, the bass player extraordinaire for Zedhead, a little old band out of Canada. And you've never met John, but...
No, but I feel like I've known him forever.
Yeah, and he's just sings your praises to the high heavens. And are you willing to share that cute little story that you shared offline? Because I think...
Yeah, but just before I do, I do want to... John is a remarkable human being.
Yes.
He reached out to me and... he's never asked anything of me, but yet always wanted to help out. And I said, I'm curious why you're doing all this. And he goes, because I love supporting people when I see how they're working hard, and anything I can do to help, I'd love to do that. And that's the kind of spirit that we were just talking about, the whole love revolution.
Yeah.
And for me to see someone like John be a part of the music industry, he's not a bystander. He's also in the industry.
Yeah.
And to want to help out another artist, I mean, that's amazing. And he's an incredible human being. So I want to say that first before I tell this story, which would laugh.
Yeah.
So he asked me to be in one of his band's music videos. I happily obliged. I love the guy. Of course, I'll help out.
Yeah.
And he accidentally wanted to send a message to the guys in the band, but he ended up sending a message to me, kind of saying, "Hey, we got this hot girl. She's going to be in our video, blah, blah, blah." And, there was some other things in the message, nothing obscene.
Yeah, right.
But I was just dying of laughter going, "Oh my God, he doesn't even know he sent this to me." So he realized afterwards, and he contacted me, and he's like, "I'm so sorry," And he goes, "But it's true. So, yeah, you're hot." But I didn't say anything else other than that. I said, yeah, I'm cool with that. I can take the fact that you think I'm hot.
Yeah, why not? I mean, it goes with the whole positivity thing. Exactly. And and sadly, you didn't get in that video. It didn't work out for that video.
No, yeah, because they changed the schedule, and I think they ended up actually recording it a year later. So it didn't work out time-wise. But I'm more than happy to help them anytime they need. But they still got a very cool video regardless. So.
Hey, John, if you're listening out there, and I hope you are, and Neil Chapman, the brilliant guitarist, her price has just gone up, though.
That's right. Yeah. Well, the price for him was free.
Yeah, so now it's doubled now.
Yeah, so now you got to get me lunch and dinner.
Yeah, bingo. And some cat head. I had the opportunity to celebrate John's birthday. And won't get into that whole story. We talk offline about that. But I want to cue up Settle of the Dust. And then when we come back, you also had you were fated to sit next to Billy Ray Cyrus on a flight from L.A. to Toronto in 2018. So your life is just filled with these, what others would maybe call coincidences, but certainly are not in your life. But Settle of the Dust, love this song, and I want to cue it up if we could, Waheed.
You've been running around like all them wild horses, chasing after a dream, nobody tying you down. No, it's never been easy finding love in a hotel. No time for goodbye, you gotta hit the next town. But before you go, you gotta know. You fool, can't you see?
a great conversation with Suzi Kory. That's www.suzikory.com. You can find out all about where she's playing and get her music, etc. That is Settle of the Dust. And WYI Music News says of Settle of the Dust, a luxuriously arranged ballad reminiscent of Linda Ronstadt's glorious country roots. Talk about the song, and that's a cool praise there from Music News.
Yeah, that was pretty huge. FYI Music News is a pretty big music publication here in Canada. So to get that kind of praise from them was just like, wow.
Yeah.
I've always said that I do what I do, praise or without praise. I don't think you can ever do it for those reasons.
Right.
But when you do get some kind of recognition like that, and, to be compared to someone like that that was very, very touching and huge.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll talk about, we teed it up or queued it up a little bit. The fate of being seated next to Billy Ray Cyrus on a flight back, and how that kind of changed the trajectory of your life as well.
Yeah. So, it's one of many stories, but again, one of those pivotal moments in life. So I'd been going back and forth to LA working with my producer, Brent Woods. And Brent Woods is a rock guy. He had his own rock band, Wild Side. They were slated to be the next big thing during the late 80s.
Okay.
They even recorded in Eddie Van Halen's house.
Wow.
He was there while they were recording. And then Nirvana comes out, and it's the end of hard rock, and his band got dropped. He gets into the music industry working with Vince Neil from Motley Crue.
Yeah.
And he's working even right now with Gene Simmons. So I'm like, I'm working with this awesome rock guy. Let's do a rock album. I'm into rock music. And for some reason, I start writing these country songs, and he's trying to show me that. He's like, look, you're not writing rock. These are country songs. I'm like, I'm not country. Yeah. Anyways, to make a long story short, I'm not convinced, because I'm like, I don't live in the country. I don't live the country lifestyle.
Yeah.
I don't ever want to be something fake, when I'm putting it out there. And he's saying, okay, well, I hope you see it, but whatever. So we record a song called Secret Garden, Secret Garden.
Yeah.
And then I'm flying back to LA to shoot the music video for the song. And that's when I happen to be seated right in front of Billy Ray Cyrus. And one of the flight attendants tells me this because we get chatting, and she finds out I'm a singer, and she's like, oh, Billy Ray's here. You should talk to him.
Yeah.
So Billy Ray and I get introduced. We start talking. He's this awesome, super kind person.
Yeah.
And at the end of the conversation, he says to me, like just before we're about to land, look, I'm really impressed with you. The fact that you're an independent musician, and you seem like an outlaw. You do your own thing. And I'd love to listen to something. So here's the number. Send me a song. And I'm thinking, okay, yeah, right. He's not really going to listen. But of course, I get off the airplane, send him, Pretty Little Things, one of my songs.
Yeah.
And then he texts me like 2 hours later and says, this is incredible.
Yeah.
This is really good stuff. And what you're doing with Brent is amazing. And let's stay in touch. And we did. And he was going to be in the music video for Pretty Little Things.
Oh, my gosh. Wow.
And then Miley happens to get married the same weekend I'm shooting the video in LA.
No way.
So, yeah. And then, it was a few months later, he comes out with Old Town Road with Lil Nas X, and then he just blew up. And unfortunately, I didn't hear from him after that.
So Billy Ray, if you're out there listening, reach back out to Suzi.
And I'll think about it. Maybe I'll let you in another week.
Right, exactly. Because her price has gone way, way up.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's fascinating. That's cool. And so he directed you and kind of focused you back on the countryside. Is that?
Yeah. So that's where the whole story was going, is that, I was kind of going, I don't know. And then, to have Billy Ray say to you that this is country and this is great.
Yeah.
It was kind of that sign I needed, despite the fact that my poor producer had been trying to drill that into my head for a while. It just wasn't going in there. And then I started to realize, okay, I got, once I had that kind of conversation with Billy Ray Cyrus, that's kind of where my song Outlaw was inspired, the video for Outlaw, because I kind of got it. I'm like, okay, I don't have to be traditional country. I mean, country right now is so many different things. And that's why I'm like, okay, I'm country rock. That's what I am. I don't have to be your even though I listen to a lot of traditional country artists, the older stuff we were talking about earlier, I'm more of a edgy country.
Yeah, an outlaw. And we're going to play that song. But we're not going to play it right now. We're going to play, I think we should cue up A Better Man. Love that song as well. And then come back and talk a little bit about your writing, because you've written articles for how to make it in the music industry, which I think would be a keen thing for folks to hear that are up and coming. So let's hear A Better Man, and then we're going to come back and hear some more from Suzi Kory.
Raised a son to be a wandering cowboy, but a dream and a fight could sometimes steal you away. Buses and bars, girls and guitars, taking this life just a little too far. The road back home so many miles away. Watching over you with another plan, and every high, every low that you had to go through, making you the kind of man your mama always knew. Heart full of love inside of you, helping you to understand how to be a better man. Dust storm settles on the highway, where there's something you could feel and the feeling starts to grow. Let go of regret, give and forget, searching for the savior is inside yourself, realizing now you'll be.
That is A Better Man by Suzi Kory. And Suzi, talk about that song. I mean, who wouldn't want to be a better man or a better person?
Well, at the time I felt it was such an important song to write. And I was telling you kind of off air, I had gone to LA to record 1975, and I was stuck with lyrics. We ended up not recording it. And we spent the time actually having, me and my producer, I should explain, these really deep conversations. And I remember him saying to me, I'm so sorry. Like, we didn't even finish what you came out here to do, 1975. I said, no, you know what? Having these conversations on a human level was so much more important than talking about your life. And he was going through very, very big changes in his life. He was making some big changes, emotionally, spiritually, and all these things. And so I said to him, right now, that's what we were meant to do. We weren't meant to finish 1975. And I'm okay. I'll be back. We'll finish that one.
Yeah.
And when I got on the plane, I was going to Tennessee because I was actually going to do Love Revolution Festival down in Tennessee as well.
Yeah.
So on the plane, I wrote the song, and it was about him. And it was inspired by the conversations I had with him and actually one other person, Philip Schaus, who is another incredible musician. And I started to realize this trend. It was during COVID that people were kind of getting sober. They were making all these changes in their life that were very positive. And because a lot of people were spending time alone, they were kind of going more inside.
Reflective, right.
And getting reflective and going and wanting to make all these changes in their life, positive changes. And to hear someone talk about that and see the incredible changes they were making, because you're talking about people who are living a rock star lifestyle.
Right.
Being on the road is not easy. There's a lot of stuff out there that is, when it's a whole life that you've lived for years, to get off that train, is huge. And the song just came out of me inspired by those two people. And I think, you and I were talking about how it's different thing for women. Women are very supportive of each other and share their feelings and their emotions. We're known for that for the most part. Guys, it's like, it's not cool to talk about your feelings and your emotions. And I think everybody needs that outlet. Be able to kind of, you don't have to share it with the world, but as long as you have like a few close people in your life that you can be honest with, I think that's so important. And I feel privileged that these people, the two guys, had shared these things with me. And that's why I was inspired to write the song that, you can make those changes and become a better person. That person that your mother always sees you as, this,
Well, and a worthy journey for everybody, right? To become a better person all the way around. Well, and you mentioned when we were playing the song that Settle of the Dust was also written in tribute to Brent. Did I get that right? Did I hear that?
Yeah. And it was funny because, I wrote that song at the time and we recorded it and he had no idea it was about him. So it almost felt like a Stevie Nicks, Lindsey Buckingham kind of thing.
Right.
You're getting a person to write and produce the song, not knowing. But they came out 2 years later and we're all good, so we laugh about it now. It's interesting. But I always say, you've become my muse, You're Settle of the Dust and then A Better Man. It's great. I get all these songs.
Right. He's an inspiration. What's wrong with that? Exactly. Well, talk about, we teed it up a little bit, but talk about your article, How to Make It in the Music Industry, and just sort of at the high level, some, recommendations that you would give to folks that are beginning their careers on how to make it.
Yeah. And, I was so honored when FYI Music News reached out to me and said, listen, we'll pay you to write this article. So it was my first published article in a music magazine about how to make it as an independent musician.
Yeah.
And it's not like, I've reached the heights of my career. Hopefully there's more to come.
Sure.
But I have been quite successful for somebody who's only been doing it for a few years. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I would say to people is, first of all, be in control of your career. Mm-hmm. You can hire people later on in your life. But in the meantime, when you first start out, know all the aspects of the industry. And that means also knowing where the money comes from. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of artists think, okay, well, I got to create the product and that's why I got to, concentrate on. Absolutely. I worked with the best people, and whenever I felt it was the right person to work with, I worked with John Angus MacDonald from the Trews, a big Canadian band here. He was my first producer, amazing guy, amazing producer. And it was so many lessons learned working with him. And then I got introduced to Brent in Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. And, that was a big risk to go out there and, a risk worth taking. But I just felt, again, following my gut instinct, and I was right about it.
Yeah.
And you have to make the right choices of working with the right people that you feel good about working. And it doesn't matter what the cost is involved. Mm-hmm. It's always like you find the money somehow to invest in it. And when you invest in the right people and creating something that is a great product, then you're able to, have success with it. Because when you reach out to radio stations and, when I reached out to Sirius XM, and I was able to get 5 different songs on there, it was because I had the product to back it up.
Yeah.
But also, the other side of it, which I was going to talk about, is be business minded. Mm-hmm. And, I'm on LinkedIn, and a lot of artists go, why are you on LinkedIn? I'm like, because that's where all the, music program directors are, where label people are, where I've gotten a lot of people reach out to me and say, hey, can we do an interview with you? Yeah. Because they see my profile on there and, they're able to check your stuff out. And so you've got to think both sides of it, the creative side, but also the business side of it.
Do you think that's a big challenge typically for musicians, that they don't have that business side? Is that a fair stereotype?
For sure. And I get it. I think it's easier said than done, because for myself, I've always worked in corporate, world, and I've always kind of been a manager in some way. So I'm used to managing things and understanding how to organize things and how to write proper emails, how to reach out to people. And I have no qualms about reaching out to anybody and everybody. And I find sometimes people are intimidated, like, oh, who am I to reach out to the program director of Sirius XM? It's like, but why? No, I don't care who it is.
Yeah.
Everyone is a human being at the end of the day. And these people are looking for stuff, right? Mm-hmm. They're looking for material. And as long as you've created the stuff that you're proud of and you're proud to share with people, well, then there's no reason why you shouldn't reach out to people and try and get your stuff. I've gone out to radio stations in person and met with a program director, whether I was invited or not. I would just show up. I have a funny story real quickly.
Yeah, sure.
My first producer was John Angus MacDonald from the Trews. And his manager, I wanted to reach out to him in order to ask if, John Angus would be interested in producing me. And I remember I emailed him a couple of times. He didn't answer. So I just found his office and I went there. And his receptionist said, "Do you have an appointment?" I'm like, "No." And then he walked in like a few minutes later and he's like, "Who are you?" And I said, "My name is Suzi. I'd emailed you." He said, "Yeah, I saw your emails." And he goes, "What are you doing here?" And I go, "Well, you didn't answer my emails. I thought I'd come see you in person." He's like, "Well, I was going to answer you, but like it was only a week ago." And anyways, he just said, "You're here. Give me 5 minutes and I'll see you." And that's what I started to learn is just, you don't have to be assertive in a negative way,
Right.
but there's nothing wrong with just be persistent and, go see people face to face. They're less likely to say no when you're
there. It sounds like you need to be a little less shy. So you need to be more like an outlaw. Should we? Should we?
Clearly, I need to come out of my shell.
You really do. Should we cue up outlaw?
Absolutely, perfect timing.
All right, Wahid.
She's got a fire, hot flame burning on the inside, fueled by desire. Got caught, trapped in a landslide. Last chance left to fight, gonna make it count. Knock 'em down when they say you'll never make it now. Time to take it higher. 3, 2, 1, go. 'Cause she's an outlaw, reaching for the big stars, making up the rules now as she goes. She's a lone star, gonna take it far, gonna do it on her own on this lonely road. Dreams on the track, keep her rolling, knows just where she's going. She's an outlaw, reaching for the stars, gonna do it on her own down this lonely road. Nobody's fool. She's got control, making the right moves, keeping it real cool. Long shot, no way she gonna lose. Game on, keep it strong, 'cause she's made of steel. Blood and sweat, dry the tears, gotta keep it real. Set the world on fire. 3, 2, 1, go. 'Cause she's an outlaw, reaching for the big stars, making up the rules now as she goes. She's a lone star, gonna take it far, gonna do it on her own on this lonely road.
You are back on Ride the Vibe. Michael Litten, the last DJ, having a great conversation with the outlaw, Suzi Kory. Talk about that song, Suzi. You touched on it a little bit earlier on.
Yeah, I did. That the title was inspired by Billy Ray Cyrus calling me an outlaw when we met.
Love it.
And, I realized that, I didn't have to do traditional country because I was like somewhere in between country and rock because I love both.
Yeah.
And, but also outlaw has a lot of meaning because, getting into the music industry, I've never been someone who waves the female flag. I just believe whether you're a guy or a girl, just go get it done.
Sure.
But it was always funny to me because I'm always surrounded by guys, for the most part.
Right.
And it's just knowing that if you don't see the difference between you and guys, obviously, other than, the fact that you're a different sex.
Yeah.
But in terms of what you're able to do or whatever, you just be your own person. And I think, it's not just about being a female and doing your own thing. No matter who you are, just be true to who you are, figure out who you are, and then just stay true to that. And I think people appreciate that because number one, they recognize that you're just doing your own thing.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't follow any certain, protocols or trends or whatever. I just know who I am. And I've done a lot of work on that by being alone.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of alone time causes you to go internal, like we were talking about earlier, and knowing who you are and what you stand for and not making those compromises is so important. And I've realized also by being that person, you inspire other people to do the same. So they're like, oh, look, she's just being her. And it's totally cool because nobody else can be you.
Yeah, right. Unique as a fingerprint. Yeah, God divine as an individual.
Absolutely. And I think it's the coolest thing you can be.
Mm-hmm.
It's just be yourself.
Absolutely. Well, great wisdom because I think now it seems like a lot of folks have lost that to the mass psychology of trying to fit in with whatever it may be. And marching to the beat of your own drummer is, I would agree, Suzi, the way to go.
Well, it's the whole thing with social media, right? It's a double-edged sword.
Yes.
I love social media, but I use it in my particular way, to kind of inspire people, to uplift people, motivate. So you can use it definitely for a lot of good. But obviously we see the flip side of it where people are seeing other people's lives and going, oh my God.
I got to be like this person. I have to be like that.
Yeah. And trying to be something they're not because they're trying to show that they are just like these other people. And it's like, well, the further away you move from being
yourself,
the harder life gets.
Correct.
Because it's a lot to keep up. It's a lot of work.
You need to stay true north, man. You got to keep that compass on true north for sure.
And when you do, it's just life becomes easy and it's very simple,
I love it. Well, let's hear The Secret Garden if we could, Wahid.
Welcome to the secret garden. Sit yourself right down. Where the love is overwhelming, but feeling safe and sound. Trust your basic instinct and free yourself of thought. Now doubt cannot invade you or the peace you fiercely sought.
Secret Garden, and that was the music video you wanted Billy Ray Cyrus to be in. Is that right? Did I remember that right?
No, so I was going down to LA to shoot that music video.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and that's when I met him on the plane. So the second music video was the one he was going to be in, which was Pretty Little Thing.
Oh, yes. Yeah, very cool. We'll talk about The Secret Garden.
The Secret Garden was one of the first songs that I wrote when I went to work with Brent in LA. And it was inspired by a really incredible story. So we have a band here in Canada called the Tragically Hip, and they're legends here. Like they're just, I don't know what I want to compare them to in the States, but just they're a treasure here in Canada. Yeah. And in 2016, the lead singer, Gord Downey was, sorry, I'm getting stuck here.
That's okay.
He announced that he had a terminal brain cancer. Man. And so everybody in Canada was just like, oh my gosh, it's unbelievable. This band who'd been around for years and years in Canada, generations, and so beloved by the country. Yeah. But when he announced that, he also said, we're going to go on a final tour. And this is my way of saying goodbye to the whole country. I want to go to the city. And I was very fortunate and I got to meet them during that time. And I became friends with their drummer. And while they were in Toronto doing the shows, we had a really deep conversation about what he was going through because, it's hard to be in a band for so many years since I think he was 19 when he joined the band. It becomes your whole identity. Right. And it was just listening to that without going into details. Basically, it was about understanding how a human being could have something that defines their life in such a huge way, knowing that it's going to be gone. And where do you start now? You know, how do you find yourself again after all that, just by yourself, without that as your identity? And although the band, even to this day, they still continue, you know, making appearances and so on. I think he had to rebuild his life. And how many of us go through that?
Yeah.
And I was going through that in a different kind of way, and personally.
Yeah.
And so that's what The Secret Garden is about. It's really going back internally into your soul and figuring out, who are you without all these other labels that people put on you and that you put on yourself. And that's really essentially what the song is about, is rediscovering that child that, you know, when you're a kid, you know who you are.
Right.
As you go older and you're influenced by your family, friends, teachers, work, whatever it is.
You can lose your way.
You lose your way and you lose who you really are at your very core. And finding that again is a challenge. But when you do, it's...
Do you think that's harder, Suzi, for people in the spotlight, like a successful musician?
Oh, absolutely. And I think that's why, for me to have had the pleasure and the honor of talking to him, you know, and understand it from his view, because these are guys that were super, super successful.
Yeah.
And to see how his life was kind of defined by the public in so many ways, and what you're created to be sometimes out of your control. I mean, part of it, you controlled your career, but the bigger part, once at a certain level, when you become that huge, you know, people are also defining who you are.
Right, of course.
And you could easily lose yourself.
They have a lot at stake, right?
Absolutely.
And making sure you're this way or that way, or...
but then also having his circumstances change in a way that's not even part of your doing, you know, by having what tragically happened. Their lead singer passed away a year later, and, you know, that was not something he could control.
No, right.
But yet he still had to deal with the changes of all of that.
Divine. Well, this hour has just flown by. We could easily do another hour. I want to just, we were blessed to be given the opportunity, we, meaning DRS ATL and Ride the Vibe, blessed to be given the opportunity to sponsor an event here in Roswell, Georgia, November 16th at the Roswell Cultural Arts Center. And it's the Locals and Legends Jazz Series. And the special jazz guest is Ken Peplowski. And Ken is from New York City. He's a multi-award-winning jazz clarinetist, ultra-entertaining jazz legend who has been on over 70 CDs and is credited as being on 400 as a sideman. So that's the legend. But the locals are the amazing Carla Harris, and Carla's got the chops to have been given the opportunity to sing the Dave Brubeck catalog by the Dave Brubeck family. And then on keyboards is Mr. Joe Alderman, who has gotten incredibly high praise from people like Ramsey Lewis and Les McCann. So that's November 16th. Tickets are on sale, and it will sell out. So get them, and we'll see you all there. Suzi, any parting thoughts, you know, upcoming gigs? Be on the lookout for an EP coming out with all these great singles on it, that kind of thing?
Yeah, I'm looking to do one more single and record that down in Los Angeles when Brett is free and Gene Simmons gives him a break.
Gene, lighten up, Gene. Suzi's got to get him.
You know, I went to LA last week and we were supposed to work together, but he was so busy with Gene. And I'm like, damn, Gene.
Yeah.
But I get it. Absolutely. I'm so happy for him. You know, he's doing some amazing stuff with Gene Simmons of Kiss.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm hoping to go back down to LA, record one more song, and then all these songs will be put on a vinyl record. So that'll be released next year. Wow.
Very cool. Now, and just before we wrap up, just how did you make the decision or come to doing the singles as opposed to how from a marketing business standpoint?
Well, I mean, more than anything, obviously it makes proper business sense. It's kind of how the music industry went. So obviously, you know, that's what everybody's doing. And it does make sense because you can kind of elongate the, you know, material that you have to kind of putting out something new, as opposed to if you put out the whole album, well, there's your whole album, and you can only promote it for so long before people go, okay, we know you have an album, fine. You can't go on forever promoting this album. But if you do song by song, it's like a whole other story. Every few months, there's another story coming out, about here's another song. So it's smart in that you can use, where before artists would just put the whole album out, which a lot of artists still do, the big name artists. As an independent artist, it just helps you. It's obviously cost wise, it makes sense financially that you're putting out one song at a time. But now I have always something to put out there and promote, as opposed to just putting it all at one time and only having a few months to promote it.
And they can go to SuziKory.com to find that EP when it comes out. Her album when it comes out. I love it. And buy it there, you all, instead of going to the, the Spotify thing where she doesn't make any money.
Oh, hey, wait a second. I make like 0.000.1.
Oh, sorry.
You make something. I don't know what to call it, but you make something.
Oh, yeah. Okay. My apologies, Daniel Ilk. Suzi, it's just been a gas. We are out of here. Michael Litten, the last DJ, host of Ride the Vibe.